Bill, I was watching Tucker's interview of Colonel McGregor last night, and I had the distinct sense that Tucker was very sad and disturbed over what's happening, and that we may be moving into a point where, we start having some real violence against people and some dark times. What do you think?
Well, if you look at what's happened around Alex Jones is probably the best example right now. One of his top reporter, very frankly, was killed in the parking lot of his apartment after leaving the studio for relatively late. Another one got swatted yesterday, and then again last night, twice.
Yeah.
So it does feel like this is getting kinetic in some way. Now, is this us? No, I don't think it is. I think this is the bad guys somehow working through a select few, and they're trying to get the rest of us nervous and get us to back down. And of course, that's simply not going to happen. So
there's too many of us. Too many people are awake, and we need more people with courage to stand up and say enough's enough, and we want a good future for our children, because we've uncovered the monster, and he knows we're looking at him now, and he knows we're turning out the lights. So it's not a fun place to be, but as they say, to get through hell, you just have to go through it. So I think we're right there. We're brought to you by the Georgia Record. Welcome to the Georgia Show, GeorgiaRecord.com. Please check us out on a daily basis. Sign up for our social media, all of our, CDM1 Rumble. We're on YouTube now, by the way. We're not streaming live because they gave us a warning already. So we have to make sure we don't say anything but we're going to try to keep building that audience and put as much up there as we can. Our no ad subscriptions are really popular. I'm getting a lot. I know, because I get a lot of emails, and I try to answer them all directly with customers as to this. How do we do this? How does this work, etc. A problem that needs to be solved, we solve it. But that's really popular because you get access to all our sites. And if you haven't noticed, we are pumping out so much content on cdm.press that people, are having a hard time keeping up. Not keeping up, but just they're seeing all the content that's coming out. And if you get up early or late, it goes all day long. We did just change our main domain from creativedestructionmedia.com to cdm.press at our main site. The Georgia Record feeds into that. But sign up for our no ad subscriptions. It really helps us. It really, really does. It's one way you can, if you don't want to do anything else, if you do that, you support free media. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and you get access to everything with no ads. People love it. No pop-ups on your phone, etc. And we got a new sponsor, Bill. I guess a year and a half ago, I got flown up to Tucker's undisclosed location in Maine to his studio, and I did an hour. Actually, I was there for 3 or 4 hours, but I did an hour interview on his Fox Nation. That was back when he was at Fox on that show, and I've been on his show multiple times. But he came out with a new product, and we really want to jump on board. And it's called alppatch.com. Let me bring up the banner. It's alppouch.com/CDM. If you're a Zyn user, or nicotine pouches in your gum, this is a non-woke substitute, and I'm told it's much better because it stays moist. The taste is better. You don't get a bunch of dried out product. It's just a better product all around. So I'm going to run a quick ad on this so you can see from Tucker what it's all about.
Hey, ready?
Ready. So we're out in the field in South Dakota shooting pheasants, and we're coming out here to a Milo field you can see behind us, and I was throwing in an ALP. Someone else was using a tobacco product, and then somebody, and I'm not going to name names, pulled that out in public at a hunt. And so that's obviously yesterday. What we have here, ALP, is tomorrow, and we're going to make that official by symbolically ending the long reign of this product. Willie Robertson happened to be hunting with us. We don't have a mechanical fur, but we do have former U.S. Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania. With an arm. Willie's got a 12 gauge. I've got my trusty 20. And we're going to see what we can do to usher out the Zyn era. Yes! So, I should say, alppouch.com For sale now, alppouch.com. Usher in tomorrow a brand new world of nicotine pouches. The American Lip Pillow on sale now.
Warning! This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive.
Is an addictive chemical. Outpouch.com/CDM. You like that, huh, Bill?
I did. I thought he was going to say, well, we're going to usher it in peacefully and patriotically.
No, I think it's a good product, and we're excited about it. We're in launch. Make sure you put outpatch.com/CDM so they know it comes from us. And this is going to be a mainstay of ours for a long time. So we're excited about it. What do we got today on the show, Bill? I know there's a lot.
Well, there's a number of interesting things going on. You know, we've talked for periodically for months, and at every stage, as we went through the lead up to the election, as we went through the election itself, as we went through the days immediately following the election, there's been this increasing sense of reaction, not just in Washington, not just in the U.S., but really around the world. And for some number of years, people have predicted there would be a period of panic in D.C. I couldn't find the meme on it at the moment, but it really does now feel like we are reaching a sense of almost blind panic.
Yeah.
And you know, case in point is the reaction in USAID of their officials, especially one of them, and Erica Carr, who is executive secretary, and essentially sent out an email to the remaining people in USAID and said, shred and burn your documents, even in your what they call a classified safe. I mean, it just seems bizarre, and everybody that's seen this, even the Dems in many cases are reacting to this, going, "Hey, something's up. This doesn't feel right. Why would you need to burn your documents?" And notably, we have a copy of the email that she sent out, and in it she talks about, you know, go ahead and shred them where you can, but be prepared with your burn bag. Well, first of all, what would make them have a burn bag in the first place? You know, I never had a burn bag in my office. And be prepared to use that when the shredder becomes unavailable or it needs a rest in some way. Just bizarre. And so these people spent yesterday apparently doing away with many of their documents. Now, you know, you could ask yourself, well, one, why are they doing that? But more importantly, is this act alone potentially one more, you know, crime, very frankly? And it's very interesting. Here's the lady that ordered this, by the way, or told the folks to do it, is Erica Carr. And interestingly enough, Hans van Spaakowski, who we know from his very kind work with us, discussing things like ranked choice voting and other things. He's a senior fellow with the Heritage Foundation. He weighed in and said this appears to, you know, be a violation of USC 1519, and so we wonder what the implications of this are. Many folks this morning were calling for a combination of Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, maybe others, to step in and say, wait a minute, you can't let these people do this. Clearly, there's something in there. These guys want to hide. Well, one, what is it? But two, don't let it go away. This would be similar to, you know, going into a criminal case and allowing the perpetrator to go home and start, you know, ripping up stuff that they didn't want the prosecution to see. Well, we're not claiming wrongdoing yet, but this does look awfully odd, and it appears to be a very panicky move.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, there's all kind of justifications floating around now, but it doesn't look good. That's for sure. Why would you need to do that? Especially if you read the email, it's pretty clear as to what she's trying to do. So, you know, it's concerning. I used to, use a lot of class. Back in the 80s and 90s, we used to have classified all the time, codes in the aircraft and stuff that we would use, and we would have to take the code book out to go fly, and then you'd have to come back in, and you'd have to have somebody in the room while you put it back in the safe, annotate it, have a witness it's in the safe. It's very, very, very guarded, and this was just at the secret level during that time, not even top secret or top secret SCI, special compartmental. So yeah, it's an issue, definitely. And classified, handling from Biden to Hillary to Huma Abedin, I mean, it's been taken lightly, obviously. I mean, they don't follow these rules. They just put them in their trunk of their car and take off and go home,
That's right. There's another dynamic to this too that we need to take into account, and that is, we've noted in the past weeks, a lot of the stuff that we report through because we're independent journalists, if you will. We're independent researchers and so forth, and mainstream often won't report these things. But in this case, they actually did, and I wanted to play that so people realize, this is one of those things that's kind of breaking through the crust, and mainstream is having to discuss it.
Reporting this, USAID staff is being told to shred and burn all their classified documents. Quote, the U.S. Agency for International Development is instructing its staff in Washington to shred and burn documents, according to an email obtained by NBC News. The document destruction was set to take place Tuesday, according to an email from Erica Carr, the agency's acting executive secretary. Quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break, Carr wrote. I worked in government for almost a decade. I've never heard of so much shredding being required that you would know ahead of time that, quote, the shredder would become unavailable or need a break. What is that about?
Right. I actually this morning got a message from somebody who left USAID earlier this year and passed along this email to me. And my response was naturally, is this standard operating procedure? And this individual said no, that they had never heard about burning or shredding of federal records at USAID. But then again, this individual told me they've never heard of the entire agency being gutted and their headquarters at the Ronald Reagan building being shut down. When are documents, burned by the State Department or USAID? Typically at an embassy when it is about to be overtaken, Marines have the authorization as a means of ensuring that classified records and personnel data do not get in the hands of individuals who are seen as threats. They do go and burn documents, but that's not what this situation is here.
So very, very interesting. We will wait to see what the outcome is here. I did not yet see a response from Bondi or Kash Patel on their feelings on this. I think the White House appeared to be mitigating the situation, perhaps just a little bit, but it clearly does not look good. There's bad optics, as they say.
The other theory is that the legacy media was trying to bash Trump by saying this is happening under Trump, but they didn't really understand that the person who ordered it was an Obama appointee and obviously not on the Trump team. So, like everything that's going on right now, Bill, I don't think we really know everything that's happening. We're getting bits and pieces and trying to piece it together. But we've done that for years. But the puzzles, it's like one little piece coming in, that puzzle at grandma's that you go back every Christmas and try to finish a little more of it. I mean, that's kind of where we are with the puzzle on the table.
We're also seeing things that are being discovered now that have correlation to things we saw months ago, maybe a couple of years ago, and the two pieces fit together rather interestingly. So it's like a big puzzle turned over where you can't see what the pieces look like, but you got to see how the edges go together. It's very interesting. One other thing that I thought we'd cover before we go to break is the notion of the pardons is now in some level of question. And it appears, according to reports, that Biden on a number of occasions has used AutoPen, a device, to sign his signature. He actually hasn't used it. It's some staffer potentially that used it. And we have a little video to show you how they were able to tell. And that is because the signatures on multiple documents are identical. You may realize that when any of us sign our name, every time it's slightly different. There are characteristics that can be recognized that show that it's our signature, but it's very, very rare to have anything close to an identical signature from time to time. So let's see how this plays out. And there you can see these various documents. They come together and they're literally identical. And so folks are calling this out saying, well, wait a minute. If he didn't sign this, then doesn't that mean the record isn't valid? Is this in fact some sort of a crime? But in addition, are these pardons in this case, and maybe other things that he signed, are they no longer valid? So yet again, another weird turn in all of this, right at a stage where we're trying to figure out what do we have to do and deal with to, one, uncover the information that people have been waiting for now in many cases for years, and two, what are we going to do with it? Are there people that have gotten themselves in trouble and need to be prosecuted? If so, who are they? What are they? What areas are we dealing with? And every day that goes by, it feels like there's potentially a whole new area to deal with. This thing started, if you recall, with USAID and then branched off into, myriad other NGOs and myriad other agencies. And it's getting
spider web for sure. And
it's getting sporty, as someone often says.
Yeah. All right, sports fans. So there's I did a interview with Brendan Riley yesterday, who's an AI expert. And he was talking about how all this is so much easier uncovering this spider web with AI, because you literally have people who know how to do this going in and uncovering much more than the bad guys, as you call them, Bill, really thought was possible. And they're finding a lot. And that may be a source of a lot of this panic, is the effectiveness of using these AI tools to go through gazillion federal records in a very short period of time and pinpoint fraud, pinpoint criminals, and get rid of the bad employees.
Yeah, it is. If you research the actual tools that are being used, one of the most interesting that came on the scene very quickly after after Elon and company got going is actually available on an X account called Data Republicans. It's, I understand, a young lady, and she has just amazing data research skills. But there's unique ways in looking at the data that put correlation together in ways that most people would not think of. They wouldn't recognize the connections in the same way. And so there are very interesting things being uncovered daily now. And we're likely going to have some to report on in the coming days ourselves. So highly recommend people get their eyes on that, and also be willing to do some of your own research. You'll find it fascinating if you use the tools or even just the main tool that Data Republicans has available. You can, if you have a suspicion about a particular NGO, take the members of their board of directors. You can just list their last names in one section, and it'll find if there may be connections that it can see already. And I did that with one that we were beginning to research, and lo and behold, two of the board of directors had connections that allowed them to create one of those maps that shows money flowing through 4, 5, 6 layers of NGOs, and then finally reaching the one that we had asked about. It was it was fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Should we take a break and hear from one of our great sponsors?
Yeah. So this is Nucleo Boost. We developed it with John B. Wells and Brindy Wells of Caravan to Midnight. We use it here at CDM to force our stamina to stay strong, because we're working constantly overnight. Literally, my email, my phone is ringing and buzzing all night long. My wife makes me put it on silent mode, but it's really hard for me to do. So anyway, it's a problem. But Nucleo Boost is fantastic. It gives the building blocks to your cells to make you very healthy and really everybody has a different reaction to it. Stamina is mine, but I've had somebody email me and say this brain fog that it allows me to focus. I kind of cut through that. So here's an ad from John.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mix it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Anyway, check out Nucleo Boost. If you get the subscription monthly, it's cheaper. So back to you, my friend.
Great. So you asked earlier about the sense that, we're getting into another phase, perhaps a dangerous phase. And one of the things that I included for today was bear with me for a moment here. There we go. The reports from Alex Jones, InfoWars, that his top reporter had actually been killed. And they didn't release the details, but they did release some of the characteristics, and it sounded like it was a horrific murder. The gentleman died within 20 or 25 minutes. He was very quickly brought to the hospital, but they could not save him. And then this gentleman, Chase Geyser, I believe is how you pronounce it, a gentleman sitting there with Alex Jones, got swatted yesterday. In other words, the police showed up, guns drawn. I think it was
Is that picture up there? Maybe I just got a lag. But,
yeah, I can see it. Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he got swatted, and then he got swatted a second time. And if you're not familiar with the term, it means the police show up. They've been told that something bad is happening at typically your home, and they come guns drawn, order you out of the house, check everybody out, make sure everything is in fact okay and nothing bad's going on. But it's a scary process. I mean, walking out of your house potentially with guns pointed at you is troubling. So there does seem to be something, some effort to instill fear in people over the stage that we're at. We've been attacked before, as you well know, but it's typically been attacks on property, on our internet infrastructure and websites and such. Attacks on people is a whole new level, and we hope that this is a very limited instance. We, of course, our prayers and thoughts go out to the families that have been hurt here. At the same time, we hope that this is a isolated incident and won't repeat. No way to tell.
I don't think it's a false statement that this cabal, for lack of a better word, whatever it is that's out there, will kill people if they think it's necessary. I mean, you go back to all the people that have been killed over the last decade that we really didn't know about it. There was a gentleman, Phil something, who was shot on the side of the road, and he was doing some investigations. I can't remember his last name, but one of our reporters, Debbie Aldrich, was close to him, had him on her show a lot. And, he was shot by the side of the road, and the story came out later. He was investigating a lot of the Muslim infiltration into the U.S. government and other stuff. So they will kill. You know,
Yeah.
you look at just weird deaths, and you know, it's obvious they can camouflage a lot of this stuff. They have heart attack guns, all that stuff.
Well,
You
look
know?
at the very disclosures that people are pushing so hard to have released by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and others. You know, the Kennedy killing, the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy killing, the Martin Luther King killing, Seth Rich, Benghazi.
big
I mean,
one, yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, to your point, these guys are playing for real, and have been. At the same time, you know, this is the time when they have to be scared themselves, and that's why they apparently are taking these actions. So,
Well, they also brought in their, you know, own proxy army into the United States, and with these tens of millions of military-age men, and you know, we're starting to get rid of them. So that's another pressure point on this whole. You know, you're taking away, you know, my ability to build an army quickly to fight whatever MAGA wants to put together if it goes that way. So I mean, there's a lot of pressure points being applied here.
that's true. All right. So moving on to, again, one of these things where the pieces in a very unexpected way begin to come together. Folks will recall the Las Vegas shooting that occurred some years ago. And the gentleman that was the police chief at the time of that shooting in Las Vegas, Mr. Pelletier, ends up leaving Las Vegas at some point and becomes the sheriff in, I believe it's sheriff, in Maui during the, you know, the horrendous fire that occurred last year in Maui. How odd, right? And people asked about it at the time. And if you recall, there were lots of cases where, and this is one of the reasons I used Nick Sorter's reporting on this, because Nick did an exorbitant amount of work, actually traveled to Lahaina to attempt to report in depth on what had occurred and why it had occurred, and got many pushbacks from the local authorities. In one case, they actually put him in a headlock when he asked one too many questions of the mayor. So he reports here that this gentleman is the same gentleman, but guess what? Now he's been named as one of the ones associated with the Diddy case and investigation. So think about that. We have a gentleman that's and I'll use that term reservedly, involved in the Las Vegas shooting, also involved in the Lahaina Maui fires, and we are well aware of the reports of folks not being able to get out, being ordered to stay where they were, and in fact, that was the worst place for them to be. The reports of water being turned off, all kinds of things. And now we find out that he's somehow associated with Diddy and the child sex and trafficking and, you know, orgies and whatever else went on with Diddy that they're investigating and charging now. How odd that these would be tied together. And it makes us wonder, is in fact there more to this? Will we see more connections like this in other sectors? We don't quite know yet, but the very fact that there's this connection just leaves a tickle in the back of the brain that there may be more beyond this that we have to keep our eyeballs on.
Well, I don't know this guy, and this could be, you know, a quadruple coincidence, but they obviously have their trusted people on the inside that they try to get in place to stop any investigative work. You know, same thing went on in Ukraine, where they put certain people in to like stop it, call them an anti-corruption officer, and then stop the actual evidence of corruption from coming out.
Yep.
So that's a typical, you know, technique they use.
Well, when people are hiding something, how do they typically act right after they sense that it's really beginning to come out? They clam up, don't they? Well, here's Pelletier walking out of one of the police buildings. And in fact, my understanding is, I think today, the mayor reached out and put this gentleman on suspension.
So it's not the same. No comment.
You have to look up what photo.
No comment right now, guys.
No comment?
Yeah.
I'm not talking to the chief, sir.
Yeah. I understand.
Why doesn't he want to speak to the people? Only to a camera.
You know, as I'm watching this, I'm reminded of a very similar video of Raffensperger leaving one of the election offices, and people are asking him questions, and they're getting about this kind of an answer.
Yeah.
No, we called up. We've been looking for him. I thought we were going to do Top Story Tuesdays all over the island. Jeez, cup of coffee. Haven't seen him. Been looking for him for a couple of years. What happened? Can you explain Pono to me again, sir, and Aloha? I'd love to hear it from you. Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking your head, sir? You don't want to answer, huh? Okay.
We'll talk to you another time, guys.
Yeah, he won't talk to us another time. That's
Well, I give the young lady who was asking the questions a lot of credit for being able to walk this gentleman down to his car and not get intimidated, because they did not look happy to have her asking those questions.
Yeah. Wow. Brave girl.
Yeah.
Who was that? Do you know?
Who was doing the reporting? I actually don't know. I could find out, but I did not make note
Yeah.
of the reporter in this case. But I think we're going to see more of this, very frankly, not just in that case, but one, you'll recall that last week we showed, and again, it was Nick Sorter, tracking down some of the legislators as they left the initial USAID hearings, and he's asking them questions about their own wealth. You know, hey, how is it that you have $65 million? You know, you work on a salary of less than $200,000 a year. You've been doing this for X number of years. How did you get $62 million? And there's many that have accumulated tens of millions, a couple that are hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see more of this. People are going to, they're going to face questions they can't answer, very frankly.
They went to the Hillary Clinton School of Commodities trading.
or the Nancy Pelosi School of Commodities. Did you know? And I know you came from the Wall Street trading background. Did you know that there is a gentleman that does nothing but track Nancy Pelosi's trades?
I saw
and models them. I assume he's selling access to his data, but her returns are unbelievable. So
we had Doug Ross from Miami Independent on yesterday on another show, on the Output, our morning show, and he said that exact thing. You can actually download the congressional. It's delayed a few weeks, but you can download their trades and you can follow their trades, and you'll be very wealthy. You know, and the SEC hasn't put a stop to that, but it's legal. You just they can insider trade. They get all the inside information, and you can. Yeah. You know, it's not same day, but it's interesting concept.
Well, they also know if they're going to enact or get rid of a law that has an effect on a particular sector, so they can play on that. I'm surprised that Jim Cramer and those guys aren't going, hey, just download this website and you don't have to listen to us anymore.
Well, then what would Cramer do? You know?
Well, the question is, what does he do now? But that's
exactly.
So I had a chance to talk with a gentleman who is running for GOP chair of DeKalb County, William Freeman, and we had a fascinating discussion. I'd like to share that with folks so that they can get a sense of who this gentleman is and some of his plans with regard to DeKalb, if he is in fact chosen to lead the GOP there. And if you'll bear with me, we will go ahead and tee that up. All right, this is Bill Quinn with the Georgia Record. I am joined by William Freeman, and Mr. Freeman is running for the DeKalb County chairmanship for the GOP. William, thank you so much for taking time and joining us.
I appreciate it, Bill. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. So first up, for folks that haven't met you before, maybe share a little bit about yourself, your background, kind of how you even got here.
Sure. I was born in Atlanta, and at 2 years old, we moved to DeKalb County, and except for my military deployments, I've lived here my whole life. I'm a product of the DeKalb County school system, graduate of Druid Hills High School. I went on to get my undergraduate degree in business at Georgia State University. University in Atlanta. I'm married to the former Diane Benke of Green Bay, Wisconsin. We have 2 children, Elizabeth and Patrick. Elizabeth's in Boise, Idaho. Patrick's in Charlotte, North Carolina. When I retired from the Army in 2012, I started getting involved in the political activism of DeKalb County to see if we can make a difference and get some votes in. And I've been working with primarily the DeKalb GOP and the Georgia GOP since then.
So that's been quite some time then.
Yes, and it was I was very energetic because the other thing, I had 2 jobs, 2 careers in my life. I worked for the Kroger company in all aspects of retail operations at the store level, going from different positions as a clerk all the way up into management. And then I went full time in the United States Army. I served just over 30 years as a weekend warrior, National Guard, Army and Reserves, and I had 3 deployments, 2 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq, before I retired as Lieutenant Colonel in 2015, actually.
Well, thank you for your service. Holy smokes. So, when you look at the GOP, especially in DeKalb, you must have some vision for what you want to see it kind of move toward and become. Perhaps share a little bit of that so that folks can see what the go forward plans might be.
Sure. I actually think our form of philosophy of governance is the best. We just need to get the word out to everybody. DeKalb County demographically is heavy Democrat, but the strategy that will work is we network down to the street level, and where our activists are interacting with their family, friends, and neighbors to get them to maybe to support candidates that we promote. This year is a fantastic year to do that. We are in the post-presidential election cycle. This is the year we can build our network and infrastructure countywide. And we've already got the blueprint to do it. We just need to follow it. Our county is divided by Senate districts. We've got 6 of them. We can easily create 5 autonomous groups throughout the county where they are working with their precinct chairs down to their neighborhoods, down to their streets, where we can get the people to listen to the candidates we promote. Another advantage of this year is all we have this year are municipal elections, and there's over a dozen municipalities in DeKalb County. They are nonpartisan. The voter turnout typically will be at its lowest, and this is where we can vet and recruit good candidates to run for these positions and get our people out to elect them. And then we can build from there.
So it was very interesting in I'll call it the back half of Trump's campaign, beginning sort of the very beginning of 24, maybe the very end of 23. I was told by folks within the campaign that their sense was we were approaching a point where, as opposed to going, one party versus the other, their strategy was to approach people with a common sense dialogue. In other words, their feeling, and I think it played out in many cases, was that folks don't really want different things. If you'd ask the average, I'll call it Republican family for the time being, what do they want? Well, they want a reasonable opportunity to earn. They want a reasonable opportunity to have safety where they live. They want their kids to have opportunity. They want to have good education, good schools for their kids, and be able to move, at least to have the opportunity to move toward the American dream. When you ask folks in other locales, even folks from, the Democratic Party, you hear much the same thing. They don't want things that are dramatically different. And so they kind of went with a common sense, using that term often, common sense approach, so that everybody could move toward what they think and they feel that they wanted for their family. Do you sense that kind of thing is resident to in DeKalb County as well? Is that what folks want?
Absolutely. They would also like to add to that. They would like to hear from us. Many comments we get is well, we never reach out to y'all, and you know, it's easy in our comfort zone to work out of Brookhaven or Dunwoody or the Druid Hills area or these areas where we've got an established presence. It's a lot more difficult to actually go out to South DeKalb, East Atlanta, places like that where we can get the message to them, because they're already receptive to the message that we have. We're just not reaching out to them. And the only way we can do that is through networking. And we've never done that. We've relied too much on electronics, sending out YouTube messages, spending a lot of money doing that. And although that is an exponential factor that often works if we have a strong base, but we do not have a strong base. So it has no effect.
When Trump came into town, unfortunately to be booked, very frankly, down in Fulton County, I recall that the crowd, both on site essentially at the jail, out in front of the jail, to wave and say hello to him as he drove in, was from all walks of life, and they were there not to jeer, but to show support, to cheer for him, to clap and welcome him, even though it was a sad instance of him being booked into the Fulton jail. But the fact that as he drove even across town, if you looked at the videos, he had folks all the way across, and I don't know the streets, but it was downtown and then off between downtown and the Fulton County Jail. So I'll call it the inner city. People were out in the streets. They're waving. They're calling him out. Way go President Trump and so forth. It was amazing. And so again, it's kind of this feeling of if you reach out to the folks where they are, you'll find that there's a lot of Trump supporters there. How did the election come out in DeKalb County? If you can share that.
Well, on the good side, Trump got over 60,000 votes, and you're absolutely correct. That's 60,000 votes. I can guarantee that was several in every one of our 191 precincts. Those are the people we can reach out to start networking within everybody's own neighborhoods where we can make a difference. Unfortunately, we had over a dozen candidates in DeKalb County that ran, and nobody won. Everybody got trounced. And so our down ballot, as proven by our down ballot, it's not working. We've tried this for 4 years, and we're going to have to get to the basics, not emphasize high tech, not emphasize marketing, but get down there and do the old fashioned interaction, neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, so we can make a difference. So it's a good throwback, and I'm not against marketing or high tech. I wouldn't be on this show with you today, but it has to be at the correct perspective, and we haven't done that yet. So,
well, it's interesting. In the old, I'll call it the old days, folks would exchange views and compare ideas when they're, shopping at the grocery or down at the barber shop or, wherever they happen to be with their neighbors. And others in the past couple of years have done exactly that. They've gone to places like South Fulton and DeKalb and others, and they actually are quite welcome. But it's unique. It's something different, and it's a way to compare ideas and compare views, and sort of seems like break through the crust or the ice between various groups, simply by being eyeball to eyeball and being able to chat and understand where folks are coming from. Kind of seems like that would pay dividends, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And it'll be my priority will be every functional area of our executive board will be supporting the new center of gravity in DeKalb County, which is going to be our Senate districts. That's where we will have our autonomous groups working in their neighborhoods with their precinct chairs to make a difference. So we're going to really get out there and filter it down to the street level to get these people out and get our message to them.
Yep. So as we move through 25 and begin to kind of see over the top of the hill toward 26, how important do you think DeKalb is going to be to, for example, the senatorial races and some of the other things that are going to come up in 26?
Well, the formula that I'm pushing will be a huge multiplier on the raw number of votes we get for those positions. I mean, we've got the race to oust Pastor Warnock, and the best thing we can do is hit maybe what might be perceived as one of his bases and erode from it, not to mention the raw number of votes we get out of DeKalb County that would contribute to the statewide election. In addition to that, we have all the Senate and House seats coming up for under the Gold Dome, and that there's several that are could potentially very winnable. That we've gotten over 40% of the vote, but we didn't have enough to win it. So I think we can make a difference in all those races going into 2 years from now.
The especially the current senators, I think, have some unfortunate choices they've made recently with regard to male athletes being involved in female sports and such, and it seems that some of that at least would ring true in terms of issues in all communities. I mean, it seems to be sort of a flashpoint, if you will. Do you suspect that you'll be able to get that word out to folks in across the communities in DeKalb as we get closer to the election?
Yeah, absolutely. It's common sense versus wackoism. I mean, it's crazy, and I think that you can see it in some of the recent elections in DeKalb County, with politicians would hide those positions they took, or maybe lifestyles they had that didn't actually coincide with the many great churches that we have in the county. So I think, yes, getting that message out and getting people informed. We are a messenger. We're there to educate. We're there to inform and let them know what's really happening. And we're just not doing that. We're very benign in those areas, and we need to be more aggressive and get the word out to the voters.
Great. So when is your county convention coming up?
My county convention is March 22nd, a week from Saturday, and we will be deciding our executive board at that time, and then we'll be selecting the delegates for our 3 congressional districts here in DeKalb, the 4th, the 5th, and the 13th, and then we'll be selecting our delegates for the state convention in Dalton in June.
So you're going to have a busy day. Is there somewhere folks can get further information, or if they can still get involved in the county convention or other activities that are coming up?
Certainly, they can reach out to me at 404-667-1993. That's a call, message, or text. And they can reach me at WPF8576@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook.
That's
It's
great.
William Freeman.
That's great. Well, thank you for making some time for us today. We will be waiting to hear the outcome of the county convention, and we'll see how things progress as you move forward. So, once again, thank you for the time. We will look forward to hearing updates soon.
Bill, I appreciate it too. Thanks for hosting.
So, Bill, it's election season already again, isn't it? Wow.
It is, and this is this is a different animal now. We're solidly in Georgia. We're running up to the time, if you recall, back in the beginning of 23, when many counties had all of a sudden they had a grassroots-led GOP, and then many would, I think, agree with me that over the course of the last 2 years, the establishment, the rhinos, if you will, have worked ceaselessly, I think is the right term, to get themselves back in control of some of these counties and key posts. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. There are some counties that are going to be staggered, so they might be a little bit earlier than what Ms. Freeman was describing there. but many of them are going to be in a week and a half, and we'll have a better feeling coming out of that as to what the leadership looks like in those counties.
All right. Well, we'll gin up the team for election season again and get with it. And so come to the Georgia Show twice a week for updates on the election. We'll get going. So why don't we do a quick ad for David Cross? He's been a big supporter of the show. If you have a change of life, divorce, death in the family, sale of a business, retirement, whatever, and you need financial advice, I can guarantee you we don't bring sponsors on that are going to hustle you and sell you. And David is in that vein. He's just going to talk. So give David a call at U.S. Asset Management. The big thing is just pick up the phone and call, but go ahead. Run it.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
So, Bill, I wanted to run before we close one more issue, but do you have anything else you wanted to get out before we close the show up?
No, I knew that you had something you wanted to bring up, so I'd like to have that come up. Let's go.
The Ukraine war is a big push of ours. We've done events on ending the Ukraine war. We're going to do more. In fact, we have the Ukraine war in the war tour on cdm.press. We have the Ukraine files, all the research, investigative work we've done. This war has to end. The killing has to stop. I'm going to play a video. There were 800 Russians that went through a pipeline, surprised the Ukrainians in the Kursk region, and the Ukrainians have fled the Kursk region, so they didn't get encircled. And but there's so much death there. 70,000 people have died in this one area alone of the battlefield in a few months. That's just on the Ukraine side. So this is if you don't want your kids to watch this video, then take them out of the room. But there's some scenes of death in here. But this happens every day on the Ukraine front, and this war has to end. It's simply human sacrifice, and it's really evil. And I just want to play this and just kind of show people what Trump is trying to do to end this killing. When he talks about the killing needs to end, this is it.
Вот тут группы заходили, штурмовые по этой стороне, по лесу. Тут уже сидели, вот там вот, прямо по курсу. Отстреливались.
Лаврик, передай привет. Первый залетел. Победа будет за нами. Быть добру. Первый с группой зашел, занял первые дома. И вот дальше начали продвигаться ребята по этому участку фронта. Вот так это все выглядит здесь. А вот так у нас выглядят солдаты ВСУ. Вот касочка. Голову забыл. Еще один. Голову забыл. Это был их последний бой.
Макс Пруна. Зажженные. Тоже пацаны захерачили все пивишки. Вон в дырках вся. Тут хохлы сидели, их с танчика разобрали. Перебежали в этот дом. С танчика их разобрали. Граждане захватчики. Ну, здесь бои, конечно, были серьезные. Здесь позаходили группы. Слева тут двигались. Здесь по домам и слева по посадкам еще. Вот еще один господин захватчик. Вот господин у нас лежит. Не захотел уходить. Еще один гражданин Украины. В Аканаме. 5-й. Что там у него? Трофейный? Трофейный? Ну да, это их. Они все сгорели уже. Сожженное говно. американская.
So I wanted to show that those were Russian troops walking through the area of Russia that Ukraine had invaded, and the Ukrainians had to leave so fast they couldn't even bury their dead. So again, this happens every day. Hundreds to thousands of men and boys and civilians dying every day, and for a couple of years now. This needs to end, and we need to support President Trump in ending this evil, satanic human sacrifice. And I'm coming to believe that's exactly what it is and why they want this to keep going. But that's it, Bill. I just wanted to get that out.
That was important. It's harsh and it's difficult, but it is important to understand, this isn't, unless you see this stuff, it seems like it's far away and doesn't mean what it really means, which is the loss of many, many, many lives.
Yeah. And that's why you don't see it on TV, but go ahead.
Earlier today, I was on a call with folks like us all across the country, and we are readying to have a 5-day push to attempt to sway the hearts of those that are keeping Tina Peters in jail. She's been sick recently and apparently is a little bit better, but still being treated with just disdain and uncaring by those that could take action and compassionately let her serve, the time between now and her appeal on bail, and they simply won't do it yet. So we are hoping to make an impact on that in the coming 5 days. You're going to see some things on our channel on Insist on Truth, and other channels that we syndicate through, along with dozens, maybe hundreds of other podcasters across the country. So when you see that, understand it is one effort through many, many people trying to ensure visibility, to make sure that you and other viewers and other listeners are getting the message and are able to hopefully help send messages to those in Colorado, the legislature, the governor, and those keeping Tina Peters behind bars when she really shouldn't be. She was doing really nothing other than trying to protect the data on one of their election systems. She didn't steal anything. She didn't do anything that would be deemed wrong, except by those who were trying to hide the information that was on that system, and ultimately wiped it off, is my understanding. So
it's very similar to the J6 stuff.
It is. And over and above that, she is a Gold Star mom. She's lost a child to within the military. So at the very least, we ask for your prayers. And when you see these things come out, they'll be up several times a day. Likely will be at least a screen, might be a screen and a little message. Please say a prayer, and if you can, weigh in and help the effort to send the message. Please let Tina Peters go.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you Sunday at 2 p.m. on the Georgia Show. Join us tomorrow morning on Output. Ivan Raiklan from America's Future, he's a former Green Beret, is going to join me first hour. And then Friday, we're going to have Roger Stone on in the morning. And then next week, I think we're going to get Eric Prince. So maybe we can play some of those videos on the Georgia Show if we have time. But check us out on Output, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, Monday through Friday Eastern. That's all I got, Bill.
All right. Sounds good. We will see you next time.